When you get to the fallback jib area, it'll increase at the timber about 10 digits, and the fallback jib increases about 10 digits also. So across here we're getting readings around the 30 mark with the foil on the back. So you do have to be careful because it could give you a false damp reading if you're not familiar with the difference between fallback jib and normal jib. Jib bracing sheets also will do the same thing. It's a higher density material, so you'll get higher readings over that of about 10 digits. So in those instances you have to raise your acceptable level, base level, maybe from 45 to 55. So now we're going to show the moisture reading when you contact a wet area, as can be seen in the IR video I took previously. When placing the moisture meter on the wet area, the alarm is sounding because anything over 80 is wet, and when we get away from the wet area we drop back to a normal reading. Lower of course where there's no timber behind, and increasing slightly where the timber is. Again, the wet area, although not visible to us, the IR camera can see it, allowing us to put the moisture meter directly on the anomaly area. I note a number of YouTube videos show people testing tiles within a shower cubicle area. There is no point doing this. Tiles do absorb moisture, and also the grout will allow moisture through. That's why we have waterproofing membranes. All this tells us is that moisture is under the tiles, which is usually just an indication that somebody's used the shower recently. So don't use your moisture meter inside the shower area. Take your base readings on your tiles first in a comparable spot. In this bathroom we want to check outside the shower area so we know whether water is coming under the tiles and escaping from the shower or not. So we're going to take a base reading on the opposite tile on the opposite side of the door first. So this is our base reading we're taking on the opposite side of the door. Tiles often do increase the reading slightly, so this base reading is 40.1. So this is the side that we want to test outside the shower cubicle area. Note there is some staining here. This is often an indication that water is seeping out from behind the screen, and when we put our moisture meter on the wall we can see that it's very damp, almost into the wet zone. I've already pre-tested this to make sure that there's no metal in the wall in this location. This is quite a common thing for some moisture to come out from the shower. This shouldn't be a problem as long as A, it's not escaping out of the door, and B, the membrane continues through to the door frame sufficiently. So we'll take a reading on the door frame. It's probably up slightly, although there is fixing down here, so I would say that's probably still acceptable, especially when we compare it to the other door. It's not a lot of difference in reading. So the correct way to check to see if a shower cubicle is leaking or not is to check the walls opposite whenever possible. In this location the wall backs onto the hallway, so we are able to test the wall opposite the shower cubicle, and as you can see with the meter, although this wall does have a skimmed coat of plaster over it, just because of the Spanish style this house is, the readings are all within acceptable limits. So that tells us that the moisture is not coming through the wall from the shower cubicle area. I note a number of other people on YouTube using pronged meters and saying that you can use them effectively on the surface of a wall without putting any penetrating holes. I wouldn't recommend this. I have a pronged meter and I've done some testing, and I've found that you get lower readings. Prong meters are designed to be inserted into the wall, which of course damages your jib, and that's why I don't recommend using them. But they are handy of course once the jib's been removed to get a more accurate reading off the timber itself. So I can show you here, this is my pronged meter. Obviously we know this corner here is wet. When we place the prong meter just slightly on the wall, it does give a higher reading than normal, but it's only reading in what we call the damp zone. So it's not giving an accurate reading. But this meter will not work accurately unless it penetrates the wall. I can demonstrate this on my hand by just pushing lightly, and we're getting a similar sort of a reading. If we push a bit harder, we're getting a more accurate reading. That is where the reading should be for a wet wall. It should be off the top of the scale. This particular property is on a concrete